Welcome to Jim's Code Corner. My name is Jim Belcher. Today we're going to continue working on our to-do list. If you remember last time we worked on the API portion of the delete task. So today we're going to continue on with that and work on the UI portion of that. So I've already got our environments running here. I'm going to start my unit test once again here. And so I got our front end running here. I got our back end running there. And as you can see, I'm starting our back end here. And that's going to run with code coverage, just so we can make sure we have everything tested. This will only take a moment while that gets up to running. Okay, cool. It's up and running. 7 passing tests. We're good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to be doing is, if you remember how our application works, we have a list of to-do items. What we're going to do, we're going to add a delete button to each one of those items on the table. And when you push the delete button, we'll make an API call to our new API we created last time that will delete it from the server in our database. And we'll also go ahead and delete it from the front end and change focus to be on that description field. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with the service portion of that. I'll open up all 3 files here, the actual service, the stub, and the spec file for our unit test. And we'll start writing our first unit test for this guy. So we describe delete to do item. And we'll use our arrow function. And it should have a 200 response on success. Since we're deleting, we're not actually returning anything, so it really isn't much to test on this guy, so that's why I run with like that. I'll run this test here. So we'll do the async, just like our other test. We'll do an inject. We'll inject the to-do item service and the mock backend, just like we had before. The corresponding object or parameters are going to be service and backend, once again, just like before. And then there'll be arrow function. Cool. So now we can start writing our test. I'm just going to copy and paste this guy. I feel I should have copy and pasted pretty much everything, but is what it is. We're not actually, like I said before, we're not returning an actual object here, so all this can go away. All we care about here is that we're returning a 200 response. And let's see, we'll do service. We'll actually call it now service dot delete to do item. And what we're going to do for this, we just can't obviously call delete to item because we don't know what item we're going to be deleting. So we'll address that in just a second here. Let's go ahead and copy everything. It's pretty close to what we're going to be doing here. Response, the only thing we're going to be doing here, if we're not going to be doing a response length or anything like that because we have nothing to test against. So we're just going to do response.status. And that's going to be to equal 200. So nothing crazy there. As I mentioned, we're actually going to be feeding something into this. So we're going to need a to-do item to actually feed in here. So we're going to be feeding in order to tell it what item we're going to be deleting. So we got to first import this guy so we can create a new one. So to-do item, and we'll import that from dot dot slash dot dot slash did I not? Oh, maybe it's not two dot dots. Slash models slash to do item. There we go. Sorry, path issue there. No problem though. So now what we'll do is we'll let to do item equal a new to do item, and to do item dot description will be test to do item dot ID will equal my favorite number here, 42. And then we'll just feed this guy into the function. Okay, so that is going to be our test. So basically, we're going to run our backend. It's going to return a 200. We're going to feed in this to-do item that we're creating here. And when all is said and done, we're expecting it to have a status of 200. We should have a failed test, which we do. Perfect. So let's go ahead and actually write the code now to get this guy running. So we'll go into the service. And this is going to be pretty simple here. We're just going to do delete to do item. It's going to take in a to do item of type to do item. It's not going to return anything. Yeah, it's not going to return anything. So what we can do is a simple return. No, we're not going to return anything. I just literally said that too. This.http.delete to do item. Okay, which is totally not correct here. Delete this base URL. Forgot what kind of API call. So slash, and then we'll do to do item dot ID. That's what we need that for. Okay. We'll let our test run here. Make sure we get everything as we expect. And we're not. Okay. Cannot read property subscribe of undefined. Oh yes. In order to subscribe, we need to actually return an observable. So we will stick that return on there. That's going to be important, I suppose, for testing purposes, and for when we should do that with the button, so we know when this request is done. So we'll see that our test passed now. That's exactly what we need to do. Okay, so our service is ready to go. We can now work on the component. For that, first of all, we need to add another, fix this formatting here because it's going to bother me. We're going to add another stub here. So delete to do item. And it's going to return observable of. Okay, that's it for our stub. Now we can work on our component itself. So let's go ahead and open the component, spec, and the HTML. Let's start by creating the HTML. Let's go ahead and write the function here, the delete item function. So let's go into the component, spec, and what we're going to do here, very similar to the other things we've done so far, is just make sure it calls it's going to call the function or call our service, and then it's going to, in this case, remove an item from our list. So we're going to make sure our list is a little smaller. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this to save a little bit of time here. So let's call it delete to do item. That should work just fine. It should remove a to do item from the to item array. Perfect. We'll spy on, not save on this time, I'll be like delete to do item from our service. We will still feed in a return value. We're not going to have one of those. So this guy can go away. Expected one argument, we got nothing. Oh, we do need an observable. From our same error I made a couple months ago. Okay, so we still need a observable off because it's going to return a observable, but it's just not going to return up any values in this case. So then we'll actually call it, so delete to do item, which will be the name of our function. And we are going to not feed in this type of value. We're going to feed in the actual to do item. So similar to what we saw before here. We're going to do let to do item equal a new to do item. The to do item that we're going to be creating has a description. Oh, must never yep, never imported that guy in. So import, I thought we hadn't passed. To do item from dot models slash to do item. There we go. So now we're doing that again. So description equals test, and the to do item dot ID equals my favorite number 42 because it stands for everything. Okay, so we have our item. We're going to now just feed that guy right into here. So to do item. You'll notice it's red because I haven't created the function on the actual component yet. This can stay the same. That can stay the same. We'll expect, in this case, so we're expecting it to be 1 there because we were adding before. Let's keep it 1, but we're going to need to add some things to this list. So let's go ahead and say component dot. Do I have any instances of that? I don't think I do. Where I have some in the start. So we're just going to be the first time we do that. Okay, to do items dot push. We'll change this to do item 1, 1, 1. I should just create a function to create these things, but for demo purposes, to do item, we will delete to item 1. We're going to push on to do item 1, and we'll push on to do item 2. Okay, so at the beginning, we are going to have 2 to-do items here. We're going to cause delete to item 1, with item 1 being fed in, and we should end up with 1 left, because this guy should be deleted from this list, from that array. Okay, so I think we're good there. So I believe we can start working on our component. One moment here while I get myself situated. Okay, cool. And let's go back here, and we're going to create a new function. Delete to do item. It's going to take in a to do item of type to do item. It's not going to return anything. And we're going to do this dot to do item service dot delete to do item. We're going to feed in the to do item, and we're going to subscribe to it just like we would any other thing. And we're going to say the result. Give me that. I'm not actually going to do anything with that. But what we are going to do is now, this will take care of the API portion. So now we just got to remove it from the array now. So we'll just do this to do items equals this dot to do items dot filter. And we'll say to do item arrow function to do item dot ID is not the same as to do item. Let's rename this. To be to do item index. No, that's a horrible name. To do item, call it row. Row. And we'll say to do item dot ID. There we go. Believe that will get rid of it. Don't need a semicolon there. Okay. So I believe that will get rid of the item. Well, let's check our test now. We got 1 failure here. We expect it to equal 1. So it did not remove that item. But why not? So we're changing to do items. This to items filter, to item row. So we have one of these items, which is one be a row. If it does not equal the ID of the one we fed in, then it should be filtered out. And we're just equaling the two items to that, the result of this filter. Not 100% why that ain't working. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so I can figure that one out. All right, one moment, please. All right, guys, sorry about that. Little errors there. So what we did to fix the issue, sorry, my second monitor. So we did to fix the issue is a couple things. We actually went into our service and modified it a little bit. So now you'll see that instead of just returning just an empty observable, or empty object or any, I suppose it would be, the response with status code 200, now we're actually going to map that. So first we're going to try to make it JSON. If there's nothing there, just going to return an empty object. So we changed our test to go along with that. So our to do or delete to item test in the service no longer checks to see if it's status 200. Now we're just making sure that we're going to empty object back, which is fine. The component, we see we didn't really change anything here. I think I had some brackets around this section here, which I removed because they're not necessary. And in our component over here, our component test, I had the IDs the same here. So I had ID 42 twice, so I changed that to one of those be 43. And now our tests are passing. So with that, now we can actually continue. Everything should be working as we planned it to be. So I will think we can actually move on to the HTML portion, the template portion of this. So let's go ahead and we'll go into the HTML. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually add another table column here. So let's go ahead and I think we already have two actually. Yeah, we do. We only need two. So we're not going to add another column here. We're just going to modify this one. So first of all, let's since the button's going to be far to the right, let's go ahead and add text right to that. And we're going to add a button. Class is going to be some bootstrap here, btn-primary. Then on click, we are going to delete to do item. And we're just going to feed in the to do item. And the button is going to have a label of delete. Okay, I believe that's all we need to do to have the delete button actually do something now. Let's go ahead and confirm that works. These guys, don't need those anymore. And let's load this guy up. So add a couple test 1, test 2, test 3, and we'll see the delete buttons now are on the right, which is perfect. Test 4. Let's go ahead and try delete 2. And we got an error here. Unexpected end of JSON input. That's going to be a pickle to find. In extract data. Sometimes we have to have a length check somewhere in here to make sure this thing is even like a JSON object. So let's go into our service here. Pretty sure it's exactly what I need. So we can't do a .json on something that's not JSON. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video once again to get the best solution for that. Alright, sorry about that, guys. So I had a little refactor here to fix it. It was kind of what I expected here. The response didn't have a body. The string was, an empty string. So all we're doing here is in this extract data now is we're gonna do a check to see if there's anything in that text that returns in the body. If there is, okay, we'll try to parse it as JSON. If it's not, just return an empty object. And that gives us our desired effect here. So if I go ahead and add something here. Test 1, we'll do test 2, and test 3. I'm going to delete test 2. Okay, and we can see it removes. So the last part of our task that we need to complete is that we need to now focus on this guy up here once we hit that delete button. And so in order to do that, we're going to have to put a reference to that element. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll write the actual TypeScript to actually do the focusing. So that's pretty simple. So let's go to the TypeScript here, or the template file rather. We will find our input, and I'm just going to put a hashtag description. And that's going to allow TypeScript to reference this guy. So in order to have that reference actually work, we need to go back to our component. Okay. And we need to import this element. That is not how you spell element ref. Okay. And we also need another one called viewChild. Okay, cool. So that gives us that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do under the constructor actually, because that's where everything else is. I'm going to create an annotation here called viewChild. It's going to look for description, and that's the hashtag we put inside a second ago. We're going to call this guy description input colon, and that type is an element ref. See how everything I imported here is now making a little more sense now. Okay. So what we're going to do to actually make that work, and is going to be pretty simple. It's let's go back to our description here. So after it's done doing the filter, what we're going to do is we're going to do this dot description input dot native element dot focus. That in theory should do it. Okay, so I'm sure it rebuilt by now. I'm just going to go ahead and add test 2 back in there, or I guess tet 2, and oh, there we go, refreshing. So there's tet 2. So let's go ahead and delete tet 2, and we'll see that automatically the focus went to this field here. So let's double check our tests are passing. Excellent. Let's go ahead and go to our coverage report. I'll open up here. If I open up our coverage, we'll see we're at 97.34%, and that is due to, that is the wrong one. Excuse me, that's the wrong project. Let's go to none of those. Users, me, and we're going to go to my desktop, to YouTube, series 1. Okay, we're getting there. Web, coverage, and let's try this one. We're at 97.67%, pretty close to the last one. We'll also look at, if we look at our component, we'll see we have 100% covered. Everything is good there. We have no red, that is good, no yellow. The only thing you'll see that is not covered is our stubs, which is what we expect. So we're good. Everything's tested. It seems to be meeting our criteria. We can go ahead and mark that task as done. And that's going to be it for this episode. Next week we're going to go over, we're going to start updating. So what we're going to be able to do is be able to click on one of the rows. We might actually add an edit button. Is going to put the description into that description field. It's going to change the button. We'll be able to click it and save it. So we'll start working on the API next week for that. Alright guys, thank you very much. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Please share these videos. I want to get as much exposure out there as you can so I can have new ideas for things you guys want to see. And don't forget to leave your comments. Alright, thank you very much, and you guys have a good one.